iterations does it take before someone says that's always going to happen? Probably 3. I think after 3, you start relaxing a bit and thinking that's okay. But yeah, it's consistency, mate. That's the main thing. I said to another person earlier this week, and I think they wanted to do a podcast, like everyone's doing a podcast, and I just said, listen, mate, just keep doing it. Regular consistency, quality. Yeah, if it's good, great, but that's not the most important thing. You just got to keep doing it, keep showing up. Anyway, welcome everybody. Welcome to Brainfood Live on Air. It is episode 166, bringing it to you every Friday, no fail. And this is one of the most exciting topics for the year. I'm sure it is. We've got an absolute massive crowd in Crowdcast. 400 plus people registered for it. 130 people already watching live now. I don't know how many are watching elsewhere, because this is a topic I think really hot to trot for recruiters. If everyone just takes a quick look at the poll, by the way, at the bottom of your screen on Crowdcast, there should be a poll. Just flick that up and just look at the results of there. And you can see what the people who registered thought about it. Basically, very, very high interest in recruiting on and sourcing on Reddit, but have never done it before. And that's something we've got to do something about, because it is one of the top 10 most visited websites on the planet. Far more visitors than LinkedIn, right? Daily active users, far higher active usage than LinkedIn. We're all recruiters are on LinkedIn. Everyone else is on Reddit. So there's a huge problem, particularly when, you've got to figure out a way to interact with the audience that you want to hire in the places that they want to be. So this is going to be a great topic. If you have any questions on Reddit in particular, by the way, start populating them in Ask a Question feature at the bottom of the screen. And if you're watching this in different places, be it LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, or whatever, just ask them and on the comment thread there, and I will get to them. Okay. Let's do some sound checks first of all. We always do this. Firstly, can everyone hear me okay? Just a quick one on that. People on Crowdcast, give me a confirmation that AV is okay. Same goes with everyone on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. If you can hear me okay, just let me know. Give me a thumbs up or something, and then we should be ready to continue. Okay, a couple of yeses. So that should be okay. All right. Firstly, quick thank you to our sponsors. Folks, we cannot do Brainfood Live without our sponsors. Every week they're stepping up and saying, yes, Hung, I want to support this event. So I want to give a big shout out to our good buddies at Join Talent. If you're looking at any kind of recruitment RPO, in-house recruiter, out-of-the-box type of solution, I'm struggling to think of a better option than Join Talent. They've just gone like a rocket ship over the last 2 years or so, really pioneered the idea of a remote-first recruitment company that hires from everywhere. So they've got great recruiters from different parts of the world, international global coverage. They're going gangbusters in the UK, in Europe, and now in the US. Go ahead and check out Join Talent. I need to say also that Join Talent have had such confidence in Brainfood and also confidence in the market that they just went maxed out as well next year. So you'll be seeing a lot of them on Brainfood Live and on other places, because they've been really supportive of everything we're doing here. So check out jointalent.net. Let's welcome Adam Gordon. Adam, you look so much like you're on holiday. That shirt says holiday to me. I mean, that's so pristine white. You don't get away with that sort of in Glasgow, do you?
Dirty shirt in Glasgow or something?
Yeah,
I don't know. But...
Those check or some tartan or something.
Something warmer.
It's not
warmer
white.
Tones.
Yeah. That's so summer. Are you still in Cornwall? I take it, right?
Yeah.
Still there? Cool.
Yeah.
You moving?
5 weeks so far.
Relocating?
I'd think about it. I wouldn't say no. I don't think we will though. I don't think we will though. I like living in a city.
Yeah. It's probably, if you're 5 weeks, you probably get to the point where the city amenities you do miss a bit, because beachy life is great, but there's only it's almost like a retirement vibe, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty. There's not. Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what. I'm definitely going to do this again. I'm going to do this every year. I'm going away every year, like 6 weeks every summer. It's just something great to look forward to. change of scenery is, and I've not actually been on holiday. I've been working the whole time, but a change of scenery is as good as a holiday, I think.
I think even better sometimes, because you don't have the pressure to put an event on or to have a good time, so to speak. You're just doing work, but you're just looking at a different view and you're eating different food, seeing different people. I love it. Yeah. Go and do it. Although you're timing it wrong. I'd say Scotland in summer is pretty good, but Scotland in winter is horrible. So you want to switch this down and get to somewhere.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, though, I am looking forward to. I've got my season tickets for Glasgow Warriors and like for the the autumn internationals. I've got I'm on the waiting list for season tickets at Rangers. I'll go to a lot of the games. There's a lot of sport and stuff happens in winter, which is just great.
Yeah, that's right. And Premier League starts today. Can't believe it. How quickly that is. So good luck everyone who's playing. Newcastle, my team, are playing Nottingham Forest, the worst type of team to play in your first fixture as a promoted team, in my opinion, because no one's got into the rhythm and fluky results happen in the first 2-3 weeks. So I think it is a terrible time to play the worst team. We're probably going to lose, and it'll set the tone for like a 10-match sort of bad run.
Who's going to win? Who's going to win the league?
Chelsea.
No way. See, it's going to be Man City or Liverpool, surely.
I don't know why. I think Chelsea are going to do it.
I think Tottenham will be third, I reckon, and Chelsea might be fourth.
Tottenham have blown a gasket. I think Arsenal beat Tottenham. Tottenham outside the top four. Arsenal, I think, with Jesus he's going to be a hero for them. But I like Sterling at Chelsea. I think he's. I don't know how Man City let him go. But I like him there. I think he's going to be very, very good. So we will see. All right, let's get on with it. Adam, did you read the newsletter last week? If you did, what was interesting, man?
Yeah, I'm a massive advocate for good communication and like really thinking about what you're going to say. And I sometimes say the wrong thing, but even still, I think that it's important. And I am especially think it's important, as you know, Hung, in written form. I think if you can write well, then you can communicate your message better. You can get people following your way of thinking. You're a better leader. And this article I'd never seen Stay Sassy before, but it's for a blog for scaling your tech team from 0 to the point you're at 100 million of revenue. And so there's 4 main reasons why they've said that. I think the headline was like good managers write good, something like that. But anyway, writing is thinking. And what that means is when you are writing, you're actually thinking about what you want to say. So it helps you to clarify the message that you're trying to convey. And that's sometimes what you do is as you're writing, you go, hang on a second, I'm getting this wrong here, actually, as you write it. So I think it's a great way of really bringing out, the true goal that you want to actually achieve in your communication. You need to think about every piece of writing as a communication that has to make somebody feel a particular way to inspire them to do whatever it is. If it's keep doing something or stop doing something or change the way that they're doing something. Yeah. Writing is transparency as well, because if you write it down, it means that you are putting your name to it. Whereas if you say it in a meeting, you could just say, I didn't mean it quite like that or whatever. Writing requires handling ambiguity. This is, again, really, really important because you've got to think about, if I could say to 10 people, hey, we want everybody to do this. Write 2 sentences to get them to do it. They're all going to write different sentences. And some of those are going to be really brilliant. And some of them are going to be like totally ambiguous or just get people to do the wrong thing. So you've really got to think about that. Then the other one is about the 4th one was writing requires humility. And I wasn't quite sure I appreciated the reasons behind writing requires humility, but good managers write good. This is important for everybody, especially for recruiters. You don't need to be a manager in recruitment to know that writing is important, because recruiters are managers. You're managing candidates, you're managing hiring managers, you're trying to manage processes happening. So every recruiter is a manager of sorts.
Yeah. And writing good is not just like being grammatically correct, Tom. So I totally get your point there. It's basically being writing in a way that is like clearly understood. I think that's the key. And part of the reason why I like Stay Sassy is because it writes in language that's accessible. It's readable blog posting, and I'd recommend everyone read it for the written quality, because it's not literature. It's not going to blow your mind in terms of, the literary techniques they might be using, but you can see the person is making a point, and almost 99% of the people who understand English can read that point and understand the point as it's intended to be received. That for me is great writing. And you just wonder, as we in recruiting certainly is still very much verbal in large respect as a job, but it has definitely shifted to a more textual way of communicating over time, with the internet being what it is. We are definitely much more on the balancing in terms of how important textual and written communication is. I think recruiters could get a lot better in terms of how they write copy, basically. So yeah, maybe that's something, another Brainfood Live we should do, get some copywriters on. We haven't had Mitch on for a while. Maybe get Katrina Kibbin, our all favorites, who are always great, but we need to find a better excuse to get them back on. But yeah, copywriting for recruiters, why not? That should be a good one. Okay, give us another one, mate.
So there's some evidence that remote working is helping to close the geographic pay gap. Now, this information was only in the USA. However, if you looked at the pay in tier 1 locations like San Francisco and New York for a software engineer in Q4 of 2019, it was $170,000. Whereas in a tier 3 location, like non-metropolitan kind of location, it was $144,000. So that is a $26,000, gap. Fast forward to Q3 21, tier 1's 180, so it has gone up by 10,000, but tier 3 is 170. So the gap's now only $10,000. So tier 3 locations, it's gone up considerably. That's great news for people wanting to live wherever they want to live. It's great news for, I think, spreading wealth around a country. It's not great news for employers who have gone, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to hire loads of people in North Dakota where the skills are high and they only need minimum wage to, get ahead in their lives. So, there's winners and losers in this, of course, but overall, I think it's great for the just overall, dispersion of wealth opportunity.
Yeah, and Aaron, I totally take your point. It can be very tight for different people. But in the microcosm of, let's say, software engineers, I think there is something to be said for that, because prior to the remote era, there was probably two different classes of way you could actually earn a living, in the sense that if you weren't in one of these metropolitan centers, you wouldn't be earning these stratospheric salaries. You'd actually just be earning the job a days type stuff, because the job would never be available for you to do in a different location. But now that pandemic has switched us on to the idea that remote is okay for so many of these roles, then I think those jobs are being pushed out, and they are carrying some of the higher value salaries out there, in which case it is a form of leveling. It's the only kind of leveling that I think can work, which is promotion of remote. And in the US, actually, we've seen certain states be very competitive to relocate remote workers, if that makes any sense. So in other words, they have basically been paying people to relocate to their place, to their city, to their state, in order to work wherever they want within state, but therefore, obviously pay tax and income tax and spend their money in state. I think that is basically kind of a microcosm, if you can call it a US microcosm of the competition we have for digital nomadism anywhere. If you're smart, you're going to compete for high wage immigrants, basically, because they're going to spend a lot of money in your local area, and they're going to be, tax revenue, valuable tax revenue for your local government.
It's like Colorado, is it, that put in place some laws around you can't advertise roles in Colorado
we have to do
salary in them because of they refuse to accept that somebody in Denver is going to be earning less than somebody in San Jose.
Yeah, they've done that, and I think there was some kind of funny workarounds, wasn't there, where companies were posting adverts saying, "Yeah, if you're from Colorado, you're not."
Yeah, don't apply if you're from Colorado.
We're remote anywhere, but if you're a Colorado person, it doesn't apply, which is obviously would be illegal in a lot of places around the world, but clearly as needs must in different places. But there's all kinds of interesting kind of emergent phenomena that's fascinating to study. But yeah, it's an interesting one to see. Like you say, one of the first bits of evidence to say that leveling might be occurring in some way. I've shared the link in the chat stream there, so check it out. Okay, give us one more, mate, before we get into it.
Yeah. Okay. So sadly, in the UK, bullying lawsuits have doubled. And the suggestion is that this is because of work from home. So in 2017-18, there were 412 bullying lawsuits. And in 2021-22, 835. This is from information from Fox and Partners, which presumably is a law firm, an employment law firm or a discrimination law firm or something like that. And interesting, you can't actually sue your employer for bullying, but you can sue for you can include it in discrimination or like whistleblowing in other things. So if you've got a claim about bullying, you have to put something else forward and then put it in behind it. But anyway, this is really sad, and it's a sad derivation of, I can't think of the word. It's a sad thing that it's linked to working from home.
That surprised me. Do you find that surprising, folks, that bullying in company increased with work from home? I assumed it would naturally decrease because you're spending less time with people, like overall less time with people. Therefore, your opportunity to have an antagonistic relationship will simply be reduced. For instance, I think it would be more tolerable to be interacting with somebody who you simply didn't like when those interactions are less intense as they would be remote. That's what I thought. But in this evidence is to say, no, there's other ways in which bullying can occur in remote, like passive aggressive type stuff.
Ghosting people, ignoring them, not getting back to them. These are all examples of bullying, which are far more likely in a primarily text-based communication, environment.
Or setting up a group and excluding someone from that.
Oh,
let's say there's a
WhatsApp groups. Yeah.
Yeah, you set up a back channel group and you start laughing at that other person.
Yeah.
No bueno. That's clearly no bueno. But how do you track that, right? I mean, you need to discover it. Someone ultimately will need to tell you, and then you find out actually they're just gossiping behind my back. I mean, how bad is that? So all kinds of little things like it is sad, but it's basically that we're getting more innovative in our bullying techniques, so to speak. You know what I mean? It's like we're applying our creativity to be absolute bellends, But there you go. Human beings. We're emotional beings. We're status-seeking human beings. Unfortunately, one of the ways in which people try and achieve status is to damage other people. And it seems that remote or in hybrid, even more exacerbated because there's increased separation there, more opportunity to have difference. That has led to, I think, pretty good evidence. If these law firms have seen a spike of cases, that's a decent measure. That's a decent measure.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, let's get on with it. Reddit, you know nothing about this, right? I mean, can we just say that real quick?
Well, I mean, I go on it sometimes.
Right, that's fine. You know nothing. I know nothing. I'm on it. And I'm a passive consumer of Reddit. There's a few Reddits I'm really into. I'm into Reddit NUFC, of course. I'm into some bad Reddits as well, terrible ones that you think, oh my god, this probably wouldn't be particularly great to advertise too publicly, but quite humorous in that way. It's the edginess of what Reddit is. You just got to measure how far you want to go before you dive into the nether regions of it.
Are you like in those shorting companies, subreddits and stuff?
No. I don't trade. I don't have the time to monitor the trends, and I think that type of trading is so consumptive of your time. I don't have the time to do it, which I thank God for it, because I probably would lose all my money. So yeah, that's not my game. All right, let's go. Let's get our guests on. Let's talk about it, and we'll pick it up from there. And I want to ask you about those cesspools, actually, because as a recruiter, I wonder how much of a deterrent, like the reputation and the exposure of some of this stuff is. How does that deter people from actually using Reddit? Like the unpleasantness of sourcing from there. And that's probably something we need to talk about. There she is, Erin Matthew. Great to see you again. Erin, for the folks who don't know you, do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Yeah. So I have been sourcing and recruiting for the last 7 years or so. And I recently made a job change, and I am now a senior sourcer with PayPal. And I'm one of the few people that actively sources on Reddit, and hoping I can help some folks gain the confidence to do it today in the right way, though. And we'll talk about that.
Excellent stuff. And I noticed I invited Wim, and he actually rejected it. It was like, okay.
I was typing way too much, and then suddenly something popped up, and it went away right away. So,
were you typing on Reddit?
No, I was typing in the chat here. I was typing in the chat. I was not on Reddit. Yeah.
He was cyberbullying me on Reddit. It's okay.
He was absolutely doing that. Well, Wim, very good to see you, and pleased to see that you look as if you've recovered from the COVIDness. Is that right? Give us an update.
Yeah, I had COVID for the first time in my life, like 12 days ago or something. So that was a bit scary. That was 4 or 5 days that I was totally out and just lying on my sofa, just trying to recover. So I'm glad I'm back up and running.
You're looking well, mate. You're looking well. So well done on that. Wim, for the people who don't know you, can you quickly introduce yourself to the audience?
I'm Wim. I've been recruiting for 12, 13 years now. I do some stuff from Sosu. I help out where I need to be. I'm currently recruiting for Tenet and for Talent Mapper. And you can find me on LinkedIn and on Reddit and on Discord and all a bunch of other places.
Let's start with that. If you're on Reddit, as a recruiter, I assume you are Wim the recruiter, right? You're not like as trying to be somebody else. No? Tell me.
I have 5 accounts on Reddit, actually.
Okay.
So I have my own personal account, which, you know, I follow subreddits and sometimes a bit less renowned subreddits where I shouldn't talk about, just like you. But I also have like a more professional account where I can do more professional stuff on. And I have a fake Wim Dammons account, which when people look me up on Reddit, they're going to find that account and that's empty and dead. And then I'm certain that my identity is somewhat safe. And I have a throwaway account for posting things that I totally do not want people to find.
Yeah, very, very interesting. Let's deal with this straight away because Erin, I think you mentioned it also in the chat stream as well. Like Reddit has a reputation for, you know, some dark and terrible things happening in various subreddits and communities. How much of a deterrent do you think that image is for recruiters, like using it as a place to recruit or advertise?
So I think that it's a huge deterrent if that's the only thing that you know about Reddit. And unfortunately, that's, you know, the main impression that people have of Reddit. They don't realize that it's also home to communities for like UX designers to share their portfolios to get feedback, or for people to post up their resume for IT career questions to get feedback there, or, you know, just people learning JavaScript in another place. So, you know, it's everything, and it's, you know, all of those things all at once. But here's another thing why it's kind of a benefit that there's those dark places of Reddit. It is the one place where you are going to find people being their authentic selves. And let me tell you one thing, and this might be controversial. If you are the best software engineer in the world, but you're also following neo-Nazi subreddits, sorry, I'm not going to reach out to you. Thank you for filtering yourself out that way.
Yep, I think that's a really interesting we need to tackle this because let's agree that the first point, let's agree that the PR is grounded in some type of reality, in the sense that there are so many people on it and so many communities that inevitably there will be communities that are marginal, to say the least. Now, just to explain to folks who don't understand how Reddit works, it's basically a bunch of comment streams, it's public posting boards, but it's organized in terms of sub-communities. So you have a single place, and then you search first for a community of interest, you join that community, and then people generally are speaking about that topic in that community. And there are probably hundreds of thousands of communities, probably more. I mean, anybody can set up a community. Yeah, millions, like, right? So
if you have anything you want to talk about and you can find enough people who want to talk about this topic, then you can make a subreddit about it. I mean, Aaron posted it earlier, bread stapled to trees. There are 100,000 people talking about stapling bread to trees. You know,
I don't know
just
why,
happens.
but it's or my favorite, CVS receipts. People posting how long their CVS receipts are from the pharmacy.
So, go ahead. No, as long as you have an interest and a shared interest, you can make a subreddit about it. And it used to be that anything goes on Reddit. It used to be that as long as you have enough people interested in this topic, you can make a subreddit about it. But they have been cracking down on a lot of like the more shady subreddits that have been removed, or just the hate subreddits, that kind of stuff. Just illegal stuff has also been instantly filtered out. So they have been trying to clean it up lately. There is still a bunch of stuff where you can just go and see things which are not okay if you aren't taking care of yourself.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
I've got something. I don't want us to go too far beyond this before I ask this question, because I think this is really important. But before I ask the question, it's a question for Erin. Before I ask the question, I'm going to make it really clear. I hate neo-Nazis. I would never hang out with neo-Nazis or want to work with neo-Nazis. You find the very best software engineer you can find on Reddit. That person is following neo-Nazi, subreddits, whatever. Whose decision is it that you don't hire people, you don't approach somebody? Is it yours, or is it your employer's decision that neo-Nazis are not going to be part of your organization? I'll take it a little bit further, just to exaggerate my point. You hate Manchester United. You find the best software engineer, and that person is, following Manchester United. You just forget that person. I know it's a ridiculous analogy here, but my point is, at what point do we determine as individual recruiters what is okay and what's not okay?
What's not okay is denying the humanity of another group of people. That's where I draw the line. That's both me and my employer.
Aaron, let me just firstly, I just want to interrupt on this, because I think this is actually a really important topic, and we should probably do a show on it, like a dedicated show to say what is how do we devolve the responsibility to make judgments that are outside of the core function of the job. So, for instance,
it's not just Reddit. It's not just Reddit. It could be on LinkedIn. It could be anywhere.
Yeah. And at what point does that then segue to bias, right? I mean, it could be that I have a bias against, I think Islam is bad, and I decide, okay, no more Muslims, and then where does that go? So anyway, the point is, I interrupt you, Aaron. So if you've got more to say, then please say it, but I do want to go back to this as a separate topic.
Yeah, I mean, as recruiters and sourcers, we do have control over who we're sourcing and sending to the hiring managers. And if keeping neo-Nazis out of our company is within my control, I'm going to be doing that. So that is my answer.
All right, and we've seen some support on the things. I need to say, by the way, I would probably fail not to say I follow neo-Nazis, but I do, because I, similar to you, Vim, I'm in different places with different counts, but I want to see what they're saying.
I think the point is where. Sorry to interrupt you. Sorry.
No, I mean, essentially, my belonging to those groups I don't think is necessarily a reflection of my commitment to their ideology. It's more like I'm scouting them, or I'm trying to figure out what's going on, like why they're thinking the way they are, and just get some insight as to how they behave. I think if I started commenting, or I started interacting in a positive manner to some of the stuff that's in there, maybe that's fair comment. But it may well be I would be binned from an assessment process, I would say unfairly, because it doesn't reflect my view. But anyway, again, a huge topic. We can't get sidetracked on this, even though it's very, very exciting and we want to get into it. This one is about sourcing, like the technical aspect of trying to source. So
rather than moral philosophy. Yes.
I think I'm more interested in the philosophy, but I think people sign up to get some understanding how to actually. Let's do the baby steps first and get into it. So, because if you look at the poll, and I think I did send this out on Twitter, I think the poll is very, very clear. We had, 78 people, 78 votes, 83.9% of people voted on this poll. Their current situation is they've never sourced it, but they'd like to start. So let's get over the intimidation factor. Number one, there are some bad things on Reddit, more bad things than you would encounter on a normal sort of more mainstream social network. That is something you got to prepare yourself for before you enter. It's almost like taking a holiday in a country that is maybe has a lot of poverty. You can't go in there with the mentality you're not going to see poverty. You're going to go in there, you're going to see some stuff that's really quite tough. So number one, that's the first thing, like mentally get yourself ready for this before you go in. Let's do the second thing. How do you do it? Can I source Reddit without an account, or do I need to set something up to interact with this thing?
I mean, you can view as many posts as you want without an account, but if you want to actually post, then obviously you need an account. So I will preface this by saying, before you start sourcing on Reddit, you need to have a very healthy understanding of the platform. And I tell this anytime that I teach about sourcing on Reddit. Don't go straight from this webinar to go source on Reddit if you are not familiar with the platform. Spend a month being a Redditor. We always say be a Redditor first and a recruiter second, so that you understand the nuances. There are subreddits that are friendly to recruiters to post jobs, and you have to understand which one those are. And you have to read the rules of each subreddit and follow them. Otherwise, you'll be banned immediately. Redditors can be very unforgiving, and it's important that you understand that. And the most important thing to understand about Redditors is they value authenticity and they absolutely despise spam. So if you go onto Reddit and start spamming all of your jobs, it's not going to end well. So I actually do have a list of tech subreddits that are friendly to recruiters, and I can post that in the chat right here. This is a more condensed form of my Reddit sourcing toolbox. This is specifically for tech, but it does have listed where it's okay to post.
That's very interesting. So a couple of things that's worth underlining there. Firstly, diving in and treating it just as an open database of candidates. That's obviously, we know recruiters are going to do this, especially inexperienced recruiters and so on, or recruiters under massive pressure. The message here is, look, if you do that, it's not going to work. And secondly, it's just going to make people really annoyed at your behavior and damage the reputation of the industry. And just make it like difficult for everyone else. Like, let's not agitate the swarm, so to speak, because we want the honey, right? It's like we do.
Exactly.
It's something I see every day. I mean, like on, for example, a recruiting subreddit where you just see people posting like, "Oh, this is the best CRM," and I go like, "Yeah, that's great. You working for this company is saying that this is the best CRM. Good job. This is never going to work. People aren't going to buy this product because you're just spamming and you're not making conversation. You're not being genuine. You're not engaging with the rest of the people. You're just dumping your link here and hoping that somebody's going to pick it up."
Is this the same? Yeah. Is this any different to behaving like that on subject-specific, like LinkedIn groups or Facebook groups? It's the same kind of thing, isn't it? You don't go and join the Facebook group for like treasury professionals and then start posting treasury jobs until you're like accepted. Is it similar, or are there differences?
Yeah, it's a bit getting that social how do I want to say it? Like, I'm trying to find the right word, but getting that credibility. Like, hey, if people see you're active on here, you're talking to other people, you're helping people out, you're going into conversations, you're making conversations, you're helping people out, then people will be open to talk to you and will go like, "Hey, I've seen you before. You're okay. Can you help me out?" That's getting that credibility. And just spamming your stuff all over the place and going like, "Look at this," people aren't going to look at it. They just don't care.
I've had people reach out to me on Reddit saying, hey, I saw in your comments you helped this person with their resume. Can you help me with mine? What am I doing wrong here? Why have I not gotten any calls back on my resume? If you build a reputation like that, eventually people will start coming to you.
Okay, really important point. Really, really important point. There isn't a particularly deep personal profile on Reddit. So there's no images. You can put images, but it's not like there is like you would expect LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever it is. So the way in which people check you out is look on your behavior. They check out your comments. They check out your posts. They check out your upvotes and downvotes. That is visible to people in community. So for instance, if you went in and started behaving like the person, like the archetype that Adam mentioned, just posting, if you went in there just posting jobs, that is that's more or less your CV. Yeah, they'll look at you. That's all they'll see. Boom. They're never going to talk to you. But if you're in there and actually they can see that you've added value, you've actually taken time to interact with people, etc., that is how they will then assess you. So your behavior becomes your profile. So that is a very, very important point, folks. People will see your comment behavior first and your posting behavior first. That's how you'll be assessed. So think about that if you want to build credibility or brand.
And another thing that I do, which I know Vim doesn't do this, my personal Reddit account is the same one that I use for work. And here's why I do that. I sort of do it to level the playing field with anybody that I want to interact with. They may be uncomfortable if they know that I found them on Reddit and they're like, oh my gosh, what else does she know? She knows that I watch Real Housewives of Atlanta or something like that. And I'm really active in that subreddit. That's kind of embarrassing. You can see all of the embarrassing stuff that I post too. I watch way too much 90 Day Fiance. So, I've commented on those subreddits too many times. So, but yeah, it levels the playing field with the person that you're reaching out to. And that's the reason why I do it. And also I've had the same account for 10 years. So you can't get more credible than that on Reddit.
Okay. There's another point. So 4 points. So I hope someone's writing this down. Point 4 is tenure. Like how long you've been there makes a difference. If you're like just set up an account yesterday and you started posting away, in fact, you can see that Redditors tend to look at how early the account was or how recent the recency of the account in terms of credibility. And they'll say that's a bot. Or that is someone who's just trolling away. That person has no history, no trust. But if they're there for 5-10 years or whatnot, that person has invested time in the site. So they become a Redditor, irrespective of whether you like what they say or not. So I guess there's no time is too early to get involved there and kind of build some tenure, I guess. So if you have a dormant Reddit account, maybe that's something you should revive. I don't know whether it's possible to clean it up. I don't know whether it's possible to go back and delete comments if you need to do that.
There are actual apps, well, not apps, but logins, which will delete your comments, because any comment you make on Reddit gets saved and gets saved by other things. So people can find your old topics and your old things you've talked on, even if you delete the comments. So it even that has their own special way of going about it.
That's it. And by the way, again, just Wim's reminders really important point. The structure of Reddit is basically just a load of comments. The entire thing it looks like a comment thread and it's nested comments, and it's just a complete, the entire website is comments basically. So what you say kind of is an imprint forever onto the system. And that may have an impact in terms of how you maybe perceive yes or no. By the way, this is not to say you shouldn't be personalizing it. It's just because I think that helps. If you're a recruiter and you're actually talking about stuff that's a pretty normal human type of behavior, I believe that helps your credibility, because people can then identify, look, that's a human being that likes to watch crappy TV or I'm sure it's wonderful. That kind of thing.
It's a terrible show with terrible people.
They're good at getting you addicted, though, aren't they?
Yeah.
If you watch the first episode, you end up watching the season.
It's the TV form of junk food.
You can see you have a fellow viewer right there in Adam Gordon. But
Married at First Sight, that's mine.
Yeah,
I know somebody who was on that. Terrible.
But these things help. Like, so long as they're not like commentary on stuff or endorsements of activity that is beyond the pale. I think we can all agree there's certain things that are beyond the pale. Most of those things are going to be illegal anyway. If it's illegal, it won't be on the site. But there's certain things that are kind of marginal, right? Where they either maybe moving towards legality or moving back from illegality or whatever. They're sort of marginal, and you just got to take care and have a bit of sense, I guess. If you're trying to use this as a professional place. Okay, cool. So building credibility is helping people. It is about sort of providing a history of being on site. Is there a way to follow people on Reddit? Is that useful? Does that work?
Yeah,
there is.
There is. You can do it. It'll show up. It'll mean that whatever posts they make, it'll show up in your feed wherever they make them. So it can be useful, but if somebody posts like in 27 different subreddits and they talk about 27 different TV shows while also talking about their job, it's not always the best thing to do. It really depends on the user and what they post. But whatever they post, it'll show up in your main page, feed, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, and if they're duplicating the comment, that's obviously annoying. But I wonder whether that's actually a smart way to just get closer with let's say if you identify them very clearly as someone who's a potential hiring manager or a candidate or whatever it is, and you have a long-term plan to get closer to them, a little bit stalkery, but literally follow them on Reddit. That's okay.
They do get a notification that you are following them, which is gonna like instantly show up in their feed, like, hey, this person is following you now, which might be a red flag for them, or might be a warning, like, who are you? Why are you following me? What's going on here? So do be mindful about that. Another way to get close to people is just using Reddit Gold and the award system that they have.
Yes, I've given people Reddit Gold before, which if you don't know what that is, if you have a premium account with Reddit, you get a certain amount of gold coins every month that you can gift to people for their posts and say like, hey, love the content you're posting. I'd love to talk with you. Here's an award. And then it's like, bragging rights on their profile if they've gotten Reddit Gold before. And it's, I think, like $3 a month to do this. And, everybody likes getting Reddit Gold, even though it's just a little electronic thing. And then they can go to like a little Reddit Gold lounge that you don't have access to. Yeah.
It's a small system. It's a bit like giving a super like on posts or on comments. Like, I really like this comment, but they get a message of like, hey, this person has super liked your comments. And you can add a little message. Like when somebody says like, oh, I'm looking for a new job because my boss, it's really going bad. And I would love a new job for a Java developer in Belgium. I can super like that comment, go like, hey, just if you want to talk, I'm a recruiter. I might be able to help you. And that's an instant way to get into their inbox. And because you gave them something, even though it's worth nothing and it's, virtual credits, it's a bunch of pixels, they're going to be more likely to respond, and they're going to be more likely and more open to reply like, hey, interested. Yeah, talk to me.
I want some Reddit Gold. I mean, this is of value. don't dismiss the value here. But I love that because it seems to me that actually following people might be a bad move because it kind of leans into the recruiter stalker type of vibe that we have. And there may not be a need to do this because $3 a month is nothing, right? For most people, to get onto a site where you get access to however many millions of potential candidates, then you get an auto allocation of Reddit Gold simply by being a premium member. Is that right?
Yep. And then you don't see ads either. So that's one benefit. And then if they use their gold membership for the month, they don't see ads either. So Redditors hate ads to begin with. So, all of this is helpful. But, as much as I love giving Reddit Gold to people, I've also found that finding them outside of Reddit to reach out to them and not even mentioning that you found them there is actually the best way to go. And particularly with developers or UX designers or anybody that you can find a social coding profile, you can say, oh, no, I just found your GitHub account, or I found your portfolio website and I'd like to talk to you. A lot of people are disclosing that on Reddit. Like specifically in the JavaScript subreddit, they have a mega thread called Show Off Saturday, where you can just show whatever you're working on, get feedback, brag about it. anything. And usually there's a link to a GitHub account or a DevTO account or a Stack Overflow account, any of that.
All right, that's
Of these
actually
people.
let me just say this. I think it's a really important point, and hold the thoughts. I want to come back to you, but it is the idea of like interacting with someone on the place you found them is definitely not the right thing to do on Reddit because of the really pervasive nature of the type of content that there. And as you say, people might be interacting with different types of things, but then people feel people will feel a bit more conscious, right? They'll feel a bit more conscious about, oh, I don't know whether I want this part of my life to be exposed to a recruiter or in a professional context. So you can eliminate that risk entirely by understanding, working out where they're from, finding them in a more public place, and then knocking sort of there with the additional insight that you might have captured as a result of the information that you've gathered. So I think that is a bit of sensitivity that might work very, very well. Go ahead.
I have two really cool things to help with this. One of them is something that I've stolen from Vanessa, who's having her birthday today, so she's not here, but Vanessa Roth.
Hey, happy birthday, Vanessa.
Happy birthday, Vanessa.
She said she was going to watch it, but I posted it in the chat, which is What's My Name, which allows you to check nicknames over multiple social media platforms. So it's about 400 different social media platforms. So some people, me included, have the same nickname over and over and over and over everywhere, because nobody wants to remember 50 different nicknames, right? You have like your favorite nickname, you check if it's there, if it's available, you're going to take it.
What's the nickname, babe? Before you even continue, what is...
No. You're not going to catch me in that one.
We've got 180 recruiters here. Someone find Wim's nickname and stick it in chat. No, go on.
It's pretty easy to find, to be honest. But you can look up their nicknames on different platforms. So if you find their Reddit nickname, you find their Reddit profile, you can look up if they have the same nickname on GitHub or on Stack Overflow or on other platforms. So that's an easy way to find people on different platforms. Another really mean trick that I always do is if you are going to contact somebody on Reddit, you start by, hey, I'm a recruiter. By the way, anybody can claim to be anybody on the internet. For all you know, I'm a dog writing some code on a keyboard. Here's my LinkedIn profile, so you can really check out who I am. And the first thing you do is you send your LinkedIn profile. Now, the first thing that person is going to do is check out your LinkedIn profile. And to check out somebody's LinkedIn profile, you have to be logged in. So what are they going to do? They're going to check it, and you're going to show up. They are going to show up on who has viewed your profile recently. So if you don't have a lot of people visiting your profile, you can narrow it down to like, there's suddenly a UX developer from the Netherlands who's checking out my LinkedIn. That's probably this person. That's fiendish. A really easy way to also figure out who that person is by just, I call it honeypotting. Just, you give them your LinkedIn profile, they click it, and suddenly you know who they are.
And you know what? There's two elements that makes this really interesting, Wim. Firstly, I think the What's My Name is really useful, so I think everyone can check that out. It's in the chat stream there, what'smyname.app. And the second technique you mentioned, I think, is really cool for two reasons. Firstly, that it's like you're disclosing first, so you're almost recognizing on this website and Reddit, it's pseudo-anonymous. Like no one's going first name, second name really on there, unless you're like Barack Obama or something. So you're not going to be first name, second name. You're going to be some sort of nickname. But if you go first and disclose, you've already kind of, there's a bit of reciprocity you've suggested. It's like the open arms type of gesture, right? Yeah. Second thing is that LinkedIn is actually quite a safe link to click, because if you look at the URL bar, people can see, it's LinkedIn. It's like not a spammy thing. Yes, it's a recruiter, but it's definitely not malware or whatnot. So they're going to click on it. And the third thing you mentioned was actually there's who's viewed your profile feature within LinkedIn, which means that the person who's seen it, and as you say, to see the profile, the guy needs to be logged in, then you'll be able to work out who's actually viewed it. So yeah, there you go. Identity verification.
That works on all social media and everywhere. Like just hand out your LinkedIn profile like candy.
Yeah, that's it. It's not private, folks. It isn't private. I know a few remaining recruiters out there that are so defensive on their LinkedIn profile. And I'm thinking, like, nah, it's like, that's incorrect, surely. Incorrect. Get it out there, man. Anyway, Adam, I think I interrupted you. Do you want to come back?
Yeah. My question was, so The people that you, for Wim and Erin, are both finding on Reddit, would you have found them on LinkedIn based on the information that they had on their LinkedIn profiles, or not? Like, what percentage of them would you just not have found on LinkedIn because they're not there, or they've got almost nothing on there?
Yeah, most of them I'm not finding on LinkedIn in my regular searches. And some of that is actually based on how the LinkedIn algorithm is set up. I always tell this to anybody when they're thinking about sourcing outside of LinkedIn. You absolutely should source in multiple places outside of LinkedIn, because here's why. It limits your search results to only 1,000. So if there's 10,000 candidates just like that, they're only going to show you the first 1,000. And a lot of people don't know this. It perpetuates bias and diversity and inclusion problems. If someone does not have a profile picture on their account, which a lot of people don't put it there for fear of racial discrimination, it's not considered a complete profile, and it prioritizes complete profiles. So you could unwittingly be excluding diverse candidates by only searching through the LinkedIn algorithm. I find people on Reddit from, just like that I would never find in my searches, either because they're not very active on LinkedIn. They don't have very much on there. Maybe it's not even updated to their most recent job. They're spending places where they're getting better at their job, like GitHub. And then they're going to these communities on Reddit to collaborate with other people like them. And a lot of people choose this platform because it's not like TikTok. It's not like Facebook. It's not like Instagram or Snapchat. Nobody's on there for clout to try and gain followers or to show off their wonderful, bougie, superficial life. They're on there just to meet with other minds. And that is why this is such a unique platform and why it has the highest engagement rate out of any website. People spend more time on Reddit than any other website.
Interesting.
That's really interesting. And by the way, LinkedIn's certainly LinkedIn is also becoming worse, I think, for people finding. Even like to the point where I'm typing someone's name, whose name I know, just to get their profile up, and it's not delivering the result. It's like, how can you not even deliver the result that's like instructed to deliver this? So I think it's increasingly, I don't think it's necessarily deliberate. I think they just might be rewiring it in a way that's really inefficient. So we need to certainly be more creative and looking at other places where, even though we know this person is on LinkedIn, we can't go LinkedIn first in that instance. Very quickly, in terms of the types of industry, folks, for you two in particular, I know you're both tech recruiters, and that's where we're going to lean towards. We know it's going to be pretty good for tech. But is there other types of industry sector you think is particularly suited for outside of technology?
Healthcare. If you look at my Reddit sourcing toolbox, I have every job category separated out by different subreddits. You can source for a lot of things on there.
Engineers are also super popular on Reddit.
Yes.
Because it's very technical, and they love seeing videos of things going wrong or videos of things going differently or how things work. It attracts a lot of engineers as well, surprisingly.
Yeah. And that's always the highest demand, right? As the recent survey results I conducted to identify what kinds of people are recruiting for, it is still software engineers, like 50% of all of the people in that follow Brainfood. So it's a massive, massive demand. Okay, folks, we always do this. Just a quick pit stop. Adam, quick pit stop. We are going to go and share our LinkedIn profiles in the chat stream and in the comment thread on LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter. Reason why we do this, folks, is because Brainfood Live is a conversation starter. It is not a conversation stopper. We have a time limit on this. We can't stay here forever, even though we want to. The conversation is going to close soon. So what we don't want to do, though, is for the conversation to stop when we come off air. So there's 180 odd people watching this. Why don't you go and connect with all of those people? Everyone who's on this stream right now is interested in sourcing on Reddit. The best way to get better at sourcing on Reddit is to connect with other recruiters that also want to learn. So take a moment, take your LinkedIn profile, stick it in the chat stream, stick it in the comment thread, and connect with everyone who has also done that. Worst case you can leave from this is that you walk away 50, 100 more connections that are really into the same stuff as you do. That will help you educate in terms of your future activating this particular this thing. Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, question. So the answer to this might be like a 2-second answer, but it might be something interesting. So Quora, sourcing on Quora. Tell me about it. Good, bad, nothing happening? What's going on there?
You know, I haven't done a lot of sourcing on Quora, but Greg Hawkes has, and he actually has a custom search engine for that. I don't know if it still works or if it needs to be recalibrated, but let me drop that in the chat for you. I've always found that websites like Quora, where people are in forums discussing various topics, natural language queries are great. Like, you know, if you have someone saying like, I am a software engineer, I'm having a problem with this bug, can you help me? You know, stuff like that. You can really get some interesting results from that.
By the way, Greg Hawkes needs to make an appearance on Brainfood Live at some point. I've asked him. I've asked him. He said yes. For some reason, that's not translated into an appearance. It's totally my fault, so I need to sort that out. Okay, let's go quickly to 2 more topics before we end the show. Are there recruiting specific communities on subreddit on Reddit?
Yes.
Like, are there recruiters hanging out? I mean, and which ones are those? Are they worth attending? Like, what's your thoughts?
Yes, there's. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. You first.
Yeah. So one place that I have unexpectedly learned a lot of cool sourcing methods is the open source intelligence subreddit. So OSINT, a lot of cool things on there. It's a fascinating place. Another place, there is For Hire. That is specifically a place just for posting jobs. So a lot of recruiters are hanging out there, but make sure you read the rules. They're very complicated and detailed. So just keep that in mind. But in terms of recruiters hanging out, there is a recruiting subreddit. I don't know if you've been on that, Vim, but it's not the recruiting hell subreddit. You don't want to end up on recruiting hell. That's where they drag recruiters that do bad things like spam people on Reddit. So
yeah,
someone shared recruiting hell subreddit. That's featured on Brainfood a couple of times for human reasons. I always think that being dragged is actually a badge of honor. I aim to achieve an appearance at some point on that subreddit myself. But go ahead, Wim.
OSINT is really great. It's one of those places where a lot of cool people hang out and people talk about a lot of really cool stuff, which I would have never learned about. There's just our recruiting, which has their own, like, the recruitment is also one of the subreddits, recruitment agencies. So there are a bunch of subreddits where people just hang out and talk about recruitment or just toss around the information or talk about stuff. It's not that big.
There's one called Resumes.
Do we know?
And it actually has a flare tagging system that you can separate out.
Tim Wood runs one of them. Is one of the moderators of one of those. Yeah. He has the Hire Right Finder as his banner of one of his accounts. It's his second account as well. So he has a moderator account for, I think, recruiting. So
that's really interesting. Like, I don't know, because I'm not really a Redditor in that sense. So but there's got to be people there that are moderating massive communities of recruiters, I guess. And yeah, I wonder who they are and hope they're having a good life. You know, it's like, good on you. Okay, let's talk about advertising real quick. There is a way to advertise on Reddit. Tell us about that. How does it work? Is it effective? Is it worth doing?
Go ahead.
Yeah, go. Oh, okay, I'll take this one then. It is effective if you're going to do it. It's a lot cheaper than LinkedIn. It's cheaper than Facebook. It is the king of impressions. It is like $5 to $6 for 1,000 impressions, which a lot of the other platforms just cannot beat. The one thing you have to remember, which is something you have to remember for all the ads you're going to run on all the different platforms, is that ITers love their ad blockers or their Reddit Gold. And some people might never see it because they are running an ad blocker on their computer and they will never see your ads. But when we ran ads for Reddit and recruitment, we ran LinkedIn, Facebook, and Reddit at the same time. And just Reddit was the king in impressions and people who follow through on the clicks.
Okay, so I think for that throwaway amount, it's worth doing, right?
Yeah.
I take it you need to have a Reddit account, a profile set up in order to access the ad manager, and then the ad manager, it'll be buried in a link somewhere at the bottom of the page or something.
You don't even have to be active on Reddit. Like, there's a lot of like Reddit accounts that just were made only to put ads on, and that's it. If you
Cool.
make ads, the one tip I can give you: do not leave it open for comments unless you're going to have somebody who's going to be policing it 24/7 and who has to be funny. If you have somebody who's funny and can police it 24/7, leave the comments open. Have a field day. Otherwise, just don't do it, because there are people who will happily troll your ad until you stop posting it.
Hey, I tell you that, so having ability on with humor online, that's like a premium skill. Like I don't know whether we recruit for that, but we should. If we're hiring for somebody, anybody, like a recruiter, I want to see their commentary online. I want to get a giggle out of that, because if that person is funny, that's worth money. There's no doubt about it. That person is an asset in the world that we're in now. If they can handle things with humor, boom, that's going to help you and your business. Okay, quick shift to employer branding. Any corporates on Reddit doing anything decent, or is that just not a thing?
There's a few that have done it really well before. And when we actually ran ads at Maxar Technologies on Reddit, we did a lot of the similar things. If you're going to run an ad on Reddit, speak in the Redditor's language. For example, I know we mentioned those terrible subreddits for day trading and stuff like that, like Wall Street Bets. In that subreddit, they're always using the phrase, "Oh, this stock is going to the moon. It's going to go to the moon." And we ran an ad that said, "Your stock might not be going to the moon, but we are. Come work on this space project that we have." And we got more engagement in that ad than any of our others that we ran on Google or LinkedIn or any other platform. So if you do a nod to the Redditors, it is much more likely to get a good response. And also just authenticity. For example, one time, Martha Stewart, she didn't ask me anything to promote her brand. And she didn't shy away from any weird questions people asked her. They were asking her, like, what was it like in prison? What are your tips for this, that, and the other? And she answered everything. She didn't shy away from any weird questions.
Yeah, two really good things to talk about there, Aaron. Firstly, it's almost like you've got to show a bit of in-group insight. So if you're going to do an advert, don't just be a tourist and drop your own language in there. Show that you know what this Reddit's about, what the conversations have been about. And if you could refer that in, then straight away, that is a little bit of in-group signaling that's going to make you a little bit more welcome. And the second thing is like super authenticity. Like if you show up, they're going to give you credit. No matter if they hate you or whatever, if you show up and you took it, then yeah, that's gonna help you. Okay, folks, we are coming to the end of the show. Let's go to questions real quick because there's a bunch of people that have asked these. Let's go to them real quick. John Rose is saying, as a sourcer or recruiter, should you use your recognized name or anonymous user name? I think we've already dealt with that. There's two different strategies, right? Wim, you've used like multiple personas. Erin, you might not have used your real name, but you've used a single persona, right? That people know. So there's choices, John. Okay. Chloe has said, okay, I see the usefulness of sourcing on Reddit in the US, but what is it like in EMEA where Reddit is less mainstream? Wim, do you want to take this one real quick?
It's very hit and miss. It really depends on your audience. Depending on country, you're going to have different results. You're going to have to look it up, and you're going to have to find the right subreddits and the right people. Especially if you're doing tech recruitment, it is still very popular, even in other communities. And the Stack Overflow questionnaire has really good data on that if you need more data on that.
Yep, good stuff. So maybe definitely US bias. So if you're a US recruiter not using Reddit, that's obviously a bigger gap in your knowledge than elsewhere. But hey, if you're English language speaking EMEA, you probably should be useful. Probably less useful in other places where English
Germany, for example, and the UK are also super popular with Reddit.
Yeah, and Australia. There's a lot of Australians on Reddit.
Okay, the other questions are kind of related to other stuff. Yes, it's video on demand. And which country do you target, Wim? I think we've dealt with that as well. Okay, so I think we're more or less at the end of the show. There's obviously loads more to talk about. Erin, have you shared your toolbox in the chat stream yet? If you haven't,
several times, but I'll share them both again.
Share them both again. Please, everyone, access that and bookmark it. If you want to use or get into Reddit, that's probably the first thing you should access and have a look at. Vim's also shared some really interesting tools.
I
as
have
well,
no
so-
toolbox just because Aaron's toolbox is so good. So that's why
You know
I
what?
have nothing else to post, because just go to Aaron's pages because she's been doing all the work on that. I just talk about it.
I do actually have an hour-long webinar you can watch if you want to get a good primer for how to do it. So I just posted that there. So
okay, everyone go ahead. It's a YouTube link there, so everyone go ahead and watch that. That's amazing. Okay, let's leave it with a final word or commentary on this. Advice to recruiters who are doing this for the first time. They've watched the show. They're excited. They're going to do it. Wim, let's go to you. What's your advice?
I'm going to steal Aaron's thunder, and I'm just going to say, be a Redditor first. Like, be on Reddit first. Learn the platform. Learn the lingo. Understand what it is like before you like do anything recruitment related. So sorry for everybody who wants to start recruitment and sourcing on Reddit right now, but learn the platform first.
You know what? There's danger to that though, because you can get into it so much, you enjoy it so much, you forget about the original reason, the original purpose. That was my journey. I was like thinking practical. Okay, I need to exploit this for some shit. And then I got into it. I was like, I don't know, I haven't done a fucking thing since then. All right. Okay, Aaron, one bit of advice, please, to new people coming in.
Yeah, I would say utilize the feature on Reddit where you can create a custom feed. You can have different subreddits added. Like you can say, oh, I want to follow these tech communities for recruiting purposes, and I'm going to follow these communities for my own entertainment. And you can flip between the two views of what you see on your feed. So you can have a more focused view if you don't want to get too distracted by looking at bread stapled to trees or stuff like that.
There you go. Had I known about that feature, I'd be like an ace recruiter on Reddit right now. But listen, that's amazing. Thank you so much, everybody. We could obviously do part 2, part 3, part 4 and all of this, but we've run out of time. So thank you so much to Wim Damans for joining us today. And great to see you. And thank you very much, Aaron, for joining us also. You two dropping your knowledge. By the way, follow these two folks. Absolutely essential if you're going to get into sourcing on Reddit. Okay, have a good weekend, you two.
Thank you. And thank you for having us. See you all.
See ya.
That was really interesting, wasn't it, mate? I'd love to have the time to actually do it, to have the excuse to recruit people out in right away there. But yeah, it's too entertaining for other things, you know.
Same. I absolutely love sourcing, and you know, I only very occasionally get to do it. But when I do, I try and make use of everything I've learned and everything I learn on these shows from people like Wim and Aaron.
Should we do it? Should we just set aside a day just to recruit a bunch of idiots that don't source, right? Get this. So let's get a few CEOs, a few tech CEOs and all this type of stuff. Like, yeah, let's get them all together. We'll all do like a massive sourcing thing. We'll live stream it, show how incompetent we all are doing it, and have everyone laugh at us.
I think the best way of doing that would be if we were actually doing it for a charity or something, and we were helping them fill jobs.
Yeah, so we volunteer some time, like misusing the time, let's face it, because, you know, but we have to have some sort of stunt. We'll batter away, try to source on Reddit or something. It might be quite funny. Demonstrate how little we know. There we go.
Oh,
anyway,
I definitely can't source as well as Aaron or Wim, but I bet I could do it better than you.
Oh, 100%. I'm the worst sourcer ever, mate. I would 100% say I'm the worst sourcer ever. I'm now so dependent on inbound that going out is like mentally I'm not tuned for it.
My OCD is a massive help when it comes to sourcing, by the way, because I can leave no stone unturned.
Right. See, my inherent laziness is an impediment to my sourcing because I'm out.
Well,
all right.
We're all driven in different ways, aren't we?
Indeed. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week. Adam, before I let you go, what's happening this weekend? Any predictions football-wise? How is Rangers? It's always Rangers Celtic in it, mate. But how's it looking, do you reckon?
Well, I mean, I don't know, but Rangers will not win the league, but they'll go a lot further than Celtic in Europe. That's my prediction. As I said, I reckon Liverpool are winning the Premiership. And this weekend, I've got a reservation in a local hostelry, which has got really good food on Saturday evening. My aunt My wife's friends are leaving our holiday home tomorrow, and my aunt is coming to stay tomorrow. So we've got one set of guests going and more arriving. And on Sunday, we're going to Sunday roast a pub called the Seven Stars, which is quite close by, and they've got live music on, and their Sunday roast is phenomenal. What about you?
That's a good rhythm, mate. That's a good rhythm. I might be seeing Bill tomorrow. I mean, basically, you say, send me a text. Yeah, I'm in Brick Lane. It's like, oh shit. What does that mean? It's
Have a good breakfast. That's all I can say.
Yeah, when that, what that means is like literally like 40-hour bender, which I can't do. So yeah, I got to figure that one out. But I might pop in and say hello and make sure I'm not drinking anything. But yeah, that's the plan. All right, that's it. I'll see everybody next week. Thanks a lot, everybody. See you later, Adam.
Cheers, bye.